In the endless deserts of Arabia, there once lived a tribe whose name is almost forgotten today. A society built around a well deep in the earth, peaceful from the outside, but rotten from within. And from among them, only one person. He shouted the truth to them, but they decided to silence that voice. They threw their prophet into a dark well and laughed as they did it. This was a challenge against Allah, and their end would be very terrible. In this video, we will witness the rise and fall of the people of Ar-Rass, who were lost in idol worship. We will see the struggle of a prophet left alone, his tragic end, and the angry punishment from Allah. Welcome to Religious Story TV. Before the video starts, please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment to support us. With your support, we can reach more people with videos like this. If you're ready, let's begin. We are now in the deep past, somewhere between Basra and Yamama in the land of Arabia. The climate is very hot. The only thing that can give life here is water, but there is no river, no lake, only a giant well called Ar-Rass in Arabic. It alone provides all the water. That's how the tribe of Ar-Rass settled here. This life was given to them by Allah. It was another hot summer day. The sun was high in the sky and the ground was burning. It hadn't rained for months. The green valleys of Ar-Rass had turned into a dry desert. In the center of the village, the people were preparing for a ceremony, their last hope. In the middle of the square stood many idols placed side by side. That morning, they were covered with shiny cloth like kings. Today, people would give gifts to these idols, asking for rain. Rings of fire surrounded the square. Leather drums were beating loud rhythms. Sheep and goats stood under a tree, waiting to be sacrificed. The tribe leaders were planning the final part of the ceremony. They desperately needed water. The well was drying up. During those days, there was a prophet who spoke against idol worship, a lonely man who warned them whenever he could. Some say his name was Hanzala bin Safwan. Others believe he was the prophet Shuaib or Ilyas. He was sent by the one creator to the people of Ar-Rass to remind them of the forgotten truth. He spoke of the owner of the heavens and the earth, the one who gives and takes life. He told them not to worship false gods, trees, or silent statues, but they didn't take him seriously. They made fun of his words and called him a magician. They said he brought bad luck, that rain had stopped because of him, that he was the reason for the drought. They claimed that his prayer had made their sacred trees dry. After he prayed, all 12 trees they worshipped had died, and now they believed there was only one way to fix it. To please the god of the tree, they had to kill him. The ones who hated him most were the tribal leaders. At night, they held meetings and planned how to silence him. This man is poisoning our people, they said. He's destroying our ancestors' religion, and rain doesn't fall because of him. They made a plan. They would invite him to the sacred well. They sent him a message. "We want to talk with you." The prophet came, hoping for peace. The sacred well was in the center of the city. Once the place of blessed water, now dried up for months. It was filled with large stones, turned into a mound. The tribe leaders greeted him with fake smiles. One of them said, "Welcome, prophet. We want to make peace with you." As the prophet walked closer, he understood their true intentions, but he did not run. "My brothers," he said softly, "I see nothing in your hearts but hate." "Silence!" they shouted. A signal was given and 5 men grabbed him. They stuffed cloth into his mouth and tied him tightly. His hands were tied behind his back and his feet were bound. He could no longer speak or move. They dragged him to the edge of the well. It was high. If he fell, his bones would break. What happened to the prophet took place at the very well where he used to call the people, but no one said a word. The prophet turned to them and raised his voice so the whole tribe could hear. There was no anger in his voice, no curses, only deep sorrow. "Oh, my people, why are you rushing to your own end? I only tell you the truth. Have you forgotten the one who created the tree, the one who sends the clouds, the one who gave you life before you even knew how to breathe?" Maybe a few people were touched by his words, but the leaders of the tribe mocked him. "Let this be your final sermon." And they pushed him down. The prophet fell among the stones. His ribs cracked, his arm broke, his face was wounded. But he was still alive, trapped between the stones in great pain. One of the tribe's leaders laughed and said, "Let the wolves and eagles take care of you." The inside of the well was deep and cold. The place that once gave them life for years had now become the place where they tried to silence the message. It was dark, damp, and had no air. He could neither sit nor stand. They were burying him alive. They closed the top with large stones. They couldn't stand hearing his voice, so they sealed it completely. Days passed. The prophet lay there bleeding, dying slowly from thirst. Only his heart continued to pray. "My Lord, you see me. I delivered your message. I am pleased with you, but I am not pleased with them," he said. On the 5th day, he took his final breath. As his soul left his body, a light shined between the stones. At that moment, in the distant village where the people were celebrating, they didn't notice. The earth had begun to shake. Drums were playing in the square. Animals were being sacrificed. "The gods are happy," the priests shouted. "Blessings will return." But the sky was turning dark. The first clouds were forming, black, heavy, and full of anger. The people of Ar-Rass had no idea of the coming destruction. When the first thunder echoed between the sounds of the drums, no one realized it was a warning. But the blood of the prophet had already mixed with the soil, and the heavens were watching. So what had happened that led them to this point? Years ago, the people of Ar-Rass lived in wide valleys and rich lands, enjoying a life full of blessings. In the beginning, they believed in Allah and worshipped him. Islamic historians like Tabari and Ibn Kathir describe the people of Ar-Rass as very wealthy. They worked in farming and lived with plenty, thanks to irrigation channels and wells. Just like the people of Sabah, they had huge gardens, grapevines, and large fields. Their lands overflowed with golden crops. Fruit trees reached the sky. Their region looked like a paradise to visitors from far away. But over time, instead of being thankful, they became wild and arrogant. Like the people of Thamud and Ad before them, they turned to idol worship. Some sources even say they became like the people of Lut, falling into their same immoral acts. Wealth without thankfulness always leads to destruction. In the beginning, everything started with appreciation. The people loved a tree that grew in the center of their city. It was an old pine tree, different from all others. Some said it had been planted by someone from the family of Prophet Nuh. Others believed it was the first tree to grow after the Great Flood. Whatever the true story was, that tree was no longer just a tree. It had become a holy symbol. And when symbols are misunderstood, they turn into idols. Slowly, admiration became worship. They gave the tree a name. They hung colored cloth on its branches and poured milk at its roots. They began to believe every blessing they had came from that holy tree. Religious leaders appeared. Fake ceremonies were invented. When the original tree grew old, its seeds were sent to 12 villages. Each new sapling was seen as a sacred piece of the main tree. This is how a false belief was born. No one could touch even a single leaf. Children were forbidden from climbing the trees. Sacrifices were made at the base of the trees. The nearby spring water was no longer given to animals or the poor. Only the religious leaders could touch it. They called this water the essence of the gods. Those who disobeyed were punished. Some who drank the water were even executed. But that water had once been a gift from Allah, free for everyone. As the years passed, the celebrations became bigger and scarier. Each month, a village would hold a sacred feast in honor of its tree. But once a year, all 12 villages would gather around the main tree for a huge ritual. Fires were lit beneath the tree, sacrifices were made, and when the smoke grew heavy, a voice would rise from within the tree, a deep, chilling voice. But it wasn't the tree, it was only the sound of the wind. Just like the golden calf during the time of Musa alayhi salam, it made a sound, but the sound was not real. Most of the people believed, but there were still some who had doubts. Some whispered that the tree stayed silent when there was no wind. Others remembered that prayers should be raised to the sky, not to pieces of wood. But anyone who questioned was silenced. The priests controlled everything. They were no longer spiritual leaders. They had become rulers. They knew well that the tree had no power. But as long as the people believed, the power remained in their hands. Then came the day when everything would begin to fall apart. Allah sent a prophet, someone who did not believe in the tree, and was chosen to guide even those who still did. He was a lonely man, humble. Love shined in his eyes, and truth was on his tongue. He said, "Do not worship the trees, worship the one who created them." And at that moment, the lie that had lasted for centuries began to shake. Truth had returned to Ar-Rass, and now neither the trees nor the idols were safe in the land of idol worship. This man had no army, no throne, no riches, only the truth of his message and the duty to deliver it. It is said that this messenger sent to the people of Ar-Rass was Hanzala bin Safwan. He was no stranger to pain. When Allah told him to preach, he didn't hesitate, even though he knew this nation had been far from truth for a long time. He traveled from village to village. He wore simple clothes. He spoke not with pride, but with deep love. At first they laughed at him. "Are you insulting our gods?" they said. "Can't you see how our trees feed us? Our waters flow with their blessings. Are you mad, or has a jinn possessed you?" But he didn't give up. He stood beneath the trees that the people worshipped, raised his hands to the sky, and said, "O Allah, guide these people. They were lied to. They don't know what they are doing." He called them back to the one true Creator, the one who created the heavens and the earth, the trees, the water, and the ground beneath their feet. He reminded them that a day would come when every soul would be held accountable. And on that day, no tree, no stone, and no ceremony would be able to save them. At first, some people began to listen in secret. Mostly the poor, the weak, and the youth started to believe in him, but the priests were watching. They knew this man was a threat to their power, so they made a plan. They began to spread lies, that he was a sorcerer, that he had come to curse their trees, to dry their fountains, to ruin their festivals. But even with all the slander, he did not step back. Then the day of great confrontation came, and it would change the destiny of the people of Ar-Rass forever. Before we arrive at that great day, let's briefly get to know the people of Ar-Rass from a historical perspective. The people of Ar-Rass valued art and architecture, but most of their art served their idol-worshipping beliefs. They believed trees and stones were sacred, so they built huge temples and altars. Some historians believe they might have had a building culture similar to the people of Thamud, a nation known for carving homes into rock. Likewise, the people of Ar-Rass likely built stone houses around their water wells. It is also said that they created idols with their own hands and offered sacrifices to them. The greatest challenge faced by the prophet sent to them was fighting against this idolatry. But the people of Ar-Rass held tightly to the beliefs of their ancestors and rejected the prophet's warnings. In the beginning, they had a strong and organized society, but over time, they turned into a people who ignored justice and fairness. The rich became richer, while the poor were denied even basic resources. They forgot the true source of their blessings, Allah, and became one of the nations that crossed all limits in arrogance. Those in power increased their control over the people, and justice was twisted to serve their personal interests. Even though Allah sent them a prophet, they threatened him, mocked him, and made life difficult for the few who believed in him. This corrupt system did not show gratitude during times of abundance, and the prophet's warnings failed to soften their hearts. Their wealth only made them more arrogant. They began to think they owned everything. At this point, a familiar cycle began. A cycle seen in many destroyed nations: abundance, arrogance, corruption, oppression, warning, rebellion, destruction. And then the day arrived. The prophet walked to the center of the city where they worshipped the tree. While everyone else was bowing down, he stood in front of the sacred tree, the very same ancient tree that generations had played around, cried around, and prayed to. It looked old and grand. With a voice that reached across the valley, he called out, "Oh, my Lord, this tree is false. These people have turned it into a god besides you. Let it wither. Show them your power." Fear, silence. The priests laughed at him, but the people were worried, and the next morning, the tree was dead. Its leaves had turned black, its trunk was split, its roots had rotted from the inside. By noon, the other 11 trees also began to die. Fear spread like fire. Was this a curse? Was it magic? Or worse, what if he was telling the truth? Months passed. The people of Ar-Rass tried to live as if nothing had happened, but things were no longer the same. In the first month, the crops failed. The wheat heads were half empty. The barley was small and bitter. "It's just a bad season," the priest said. "Next year will be better." In the second month, the fruit trees lost their leaves. Apple and pear trees began to dry up before their time. Grapevines turned dark. The grapes rotted before they could ripen. "This is only temporary," they insisted. "The spirits of the trees are resting." In the third month, the vegetable gardens died. Onions rotted in the soil. Carrots dried before growing. Women had nothing to bring to the market. People began going to bed hungry. Then came the fourth month, and the animals began to die. Sheep got sick for no reason. Their milk stopped flowing. Their wool started falling out. The cows gave bitter, undrinkable milk. The chickens stopped laying eggs. Even the dogs struggled to find food. The people ran to the priests. "What should we do?" they begged. The priests asked for more sacrifices, more animals, more rituals, more smoke. But nothing changed. Some began to whisper, "What if that man was right?" But most still refused to believe. They said this was the curse of the prophet, but the truth was something else. This was Allah's merciful warning. They still had a chance to repent and return, but their pride would not let them. By the fifth month, even the fountains began to dry up. That once holy water now flowed muddy. Some fountains stopped completely. People had to travel far just to get water. By the sixth month, no one could deny it anymore. This wasn't just bad luck, this was a punishment, this was a test. A crowd larger than the valley had seen in years had gathered. All 12 villages were there, the same people who once came to celebrate the sacred festivals of life. But this time, the mood was darker, more hopeless. The trees were dying, the fountains had dried. The sky had been dark for days. It was as if the air itself was holding its breath. The priests stood on their platforms, their faces covered in ashes, their voices weak and cracking. They no longer feared their false gods. They feared losing their power, a silence before the storm. They had prayed again, but the drought still hadn't ended. That night, the high priest and tribal leaders held a secret meeting. Other elders joined them in the temple, hidden in the darkness. By candlelight, their faces looked grim. "Things are getting out of control," said one of the leaders in a harsh voice. "The people are starting to doubt us. Every day, someone remembers that prophet's words. If we don't act quickly, we will lose all control." They agreed. If we make him disappear and throw him into a well, this will all end. The plan was clear. Invite the prophet to the city center, then take him to the well and throw him in. Prepare the well ahead of time, said one of them with a cold smile. Fill it with stones. This time, no chances. The next day, the men invited the prophet to the city center. He felt suspicion, but accepted the invitation and set out on his way. When he arrived, a few tribal leaders greeted him with fake smiles. "Welcome," they said. "We want to make peace. The people want to hear from you. Come, speak in front of this well. Maybe we can come to an agreement." The messenger sensed their true intentions, but he didn't run. "Oh, my brothers," he said gently, "I see nothing in your hearts but hate. But I do not hate you. If the people truly want to listen, then I will come." The leaders exchanged satisfied looks. The plan was working. The central well had been prepared in advance, its inside filled with large stones, its top made into a mound. Anyone pushed in would hit the rocks and break their bones. When the prophet arrived and neared the well, he realized for sure it was a trap, because there was no large crowd waiting, just scattered people in the distance. At that moment, one of the leaders gave the signal. His men surrounded the prophet from all sides. He didn't resist. Dozens of them pounced on him. They tied his arms tightly with rope, bound his legs together, and stuffed a thick cloth in his mouth so he couldn't scream. "You won't speak again," they mocked. Then they began dragging him on the ground, pulling him by his head and feet across the stone path. Sharp rocks cut his face, his clothes were torn, and his body was covered in blood. But his eyes still looked toward the sky. His heart was silently praying. A small crowd had started to gather, watching in shock. Some were crying. Others turned their faces away, but no one had the courage to stop it. When they reached the well, they pulled the prophet to the top of the stone pile. Below, the pit was deep and filled with sharp rocks. "This is your final stop," shouted one of them, and they pushed him down. The messenger fell among the stones. When his body struck the rocks, a heartbreaking sound echoed. He groaned, but not a single word of anger came from his mouth. In the narrow pit, he moved into a sitting position. He was wounded, but still alive. Trapped between the stones, unable to move. It was dark. His hands and feet were tied. His mouth was sealed. He could only breathe through his nose. He could not speak. But he was not alone. The angels were recording his patience. The earth witnessed his pain. Every heartbeat carried his mission to the throne of Allah. On the first day, the pain was intense, but he remained patient. On the second day, thirst began. His lips cracked, but he never stopped remembering Allah. On the third day, his wounds started to become infected. His fever rose, but still he continued to pray. On the fourth day, hunger became unbearable. His stomach shrank and his body trembled. On the fifth day, it became hard for him to breathe, but with his last strength, from the depths of his heart, he whispered, "My Lord, I have fulfilled my duty. I am ready to return to you, but do not leave this cruel people unpunished. They tortured your messenger. They denied you. Send your wrath upon them." And on the sixth day, he took his final breath. As his soul left his body, a powerful light rose from between the stones. But the sky was silent, and far beyond the clouds, the angels of punishment were waiting for the command. Because when a messenger is buried alive, the one who sent him does not stay silent for long. At that moment, the people had once again come out to worship their trees and idols. The drought had gotten worse. They were still begging for rain. The beginning of wrath. It all began with a wind. But this wasn't a breeze that brought relief on a hot day. A deep, terrifying sound was heard in the distance. It was like thunder, but heavier, darker. Then a black cloud appeared on the horizon, huge, thick, rushing forward. The people began to celebrate. They thought their offerings had worked. They danced and shouted in joy before their idols and sacred trees. Rain, finally rain is coming. They had been thirsty for months. Their fields were dry. Their animals had died. This rain, they believed, would save them. Men and women raised their hands in gratitude, but to idols, to trees. But then animals broke through their fences, howling and crying in terror, as if they could feel what humans could not. Then the sky changed. Dark clouds rolled in from the horizon, heavy, thick, curling like dragons. Within minutes they covered the sun. But the people continued celebrating, even if some felt uneasy deep inside. They didn't know. The messenger in the well had already taken his final breath. His soul had reached the heavens. And now, it was Allah's turn. Something shifted. The air suddenly grew hotter. The heat rose, slowly at first, then unbearably. Then, a thunderclap tore through the sky. So loud, they had never heard anything like it. Birds fled in massive flocks. The ground shook. Panic spread like wildfire. Then bolts of lightning began striking one after another. The roaring blasts left people breathless with fear. But this was only the beginning. From deep beneath the earth, a terrifying rumble rose. At first distant, then closer, louder, angrier. The ground began to tremble under their feet, light at first, then stronger and stronger. But this wasn't a normal earthquake. This was the earth itself, furious over the blood of the prophet spilled upon it. Suddenly, with a terrifying crack, the land split open. Giant cracks appeared, swallowing homes, trees, everything in their path. The screams of the people were drowned in the dark depths below. The earth opened and closed like a living beast, pulling in those who tried to run. Some tried to crawl, their bodies halfway into the abyss, but the earth took them too. Some hands reached out, clawing the air in desperate cries for help, but then disappeared forever into the deep. The most terrifying moment came when, along with the splitting ground, a fiery breath burst out, scorching, sulphurous like the flames of hell itself. Anyone who breathed it in was burned alive in an instant. There was nowhere left to run, nothing left to hide behind. The entire valley of Ar-Rass had become a giant crater, and at the bottom of that pit, there was nothing but darkness and terror. The priests tried to take shelter under their sacred trees, but those trees were among the first to fall, and so were the priests. "Mercy!" they cried. "Forgive us!" But it was too late. They had killed the messenger. They had earned the wrath of Allah, and so the people of Ar-Rass vanished from history and became a warning for all who came after. Prophets are human, yes, but in the past, people killed them. They killed those who followed them too. Yet Allah never forgets. He only waits for the right time, and when His wrath arrives, there is no one left to help. Allah mentions the people of Ar-Rass in the Quran alongside other destroyed nations, drawing attention to their tragic and unforgettable end. Before them, the people of Nuh, the people of Ar-Rass, and many others denied the truth. Surat Al-Furqan, Ayah 38. According to the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, the people of Ar-Rass were one of the communities destroyed by Allah, and at the top of their crimes was killing the prophet sent to them. Many Islamic scholars also agree that the main reason for their destruction was the oppression of Allah's messenger and their refusal to repent. This is a lesson humanity must never forget. They forgot that every blessing came from Allah. They turned oppression into a way of life, and in the end, they made an unforgivable mistake. They killed their prophet. Allah's wrath may be delayed, but it is never forgotten. The destruction of the people of Ar-Rass is one of the most striking examples of a community being completely erased from the earth. No great cities or monuments of theirs remain today. However, Islamic scholars, historians, and archaeologists have been working for years, using Quranic verses, ancient texts, and archaeological evidence to identify where they may have once lived. Islamic historians and commentators like Ibn Kathir and Tabari suggest that the people of Res lived somewhere in Arabia, possibly in Yemen or northern Arabia. They were known for their deep wells and are said to have lived around a large water source. Researchers looking for clues about this water-worshipping society have found dried out and collapsed wells in northern Arabia. Some of these wells are surrounded by the remains of burned and ruined structures. Near Petra and in old cities of Yemen, ruins believed to belong to people destroyed by great floods have been discovered. Some of these sites look like they were abandoned suddenly, and signs of massive water damage are still visible. Many of the regions where the Quran says destroyed nations once lived are now covered with desert and wastelands. The areas believed to have housed the people of Res are similarly dry and abandoned today. Some Islamic sources suggest that Res may have been located in Azerbaijan or near Mesopotamia due to the presence of ancient ruins and lost cities there. However, the most common view is that they lived in the northern part of Arabia, in the region between today's Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen. Their story offers one of the deepest and most meaningful lessons in human history. Guided by the Quran and Hadiths, the mistakes that led to the destruction of the people of Res have been held up as a warning for all generations. Seeing that this lesson still applies today shows that no matter how much humanity advances, we are still prone to making the same dangerous mistakes. The people of Res considered water to be sacred. They saw it as the symbol of their power and wealth. They took pride in their water sources and treated their wells as sources of strength. But instead of seeing water as a part of nature, they treated it like a god that they could control with their own hands. This led them to misuse their resources and become arrogant toward nature. It stands as a powerful warning, even for the modern world, showing how ecological crises, mismanagement of water, and disrespect toward nature can lead to great destruction. Back then, they saw water as a blessing they owned, but they lived to see that same water rise against them and become a punishment. One of their greatest mistakes was to forget that all strength and wealth come from their Lord. The people of Res rejected the warnings of their prophet, followed pride and rebellion, and were finally destroyed. This story teaches us that human power and resources are temporary. True strength is found in submitting to Allah and being a servant to Him. History is a teacher for humanity. Every rise and fall of a civilization is a shared lesson for all people. These lessons are not just warnings for the people of the past. They speak directly to us today. Destruction is not only something from ancient times, it is one of the great dangers humanity still faces. People today are drunk with power, wealth, and worldly pleasures, but we must place our trust only in Allah. He is the one who gave us all these blessings, as well as the hands, feet, eyes, ears, tongue, and entire body we use to benefit from them. In every era of human history, true power has come through surrendering to Allah. We must take the warnings that Allah gave in the Quran about past nations seriously. They are not told just for historical knowledge. They are lessons meant to shape how we live today. Salvation is only possible by turning to Allah. We hope this story has brought light not only to the darkness of the past, but also to the struggles of our present time. At Religious Story TV, our goal is to uncover the wisdom behind historical events and share them with you. If you want to explore more deep stories like this and understand key moments in history from a different perspective, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Every comment you leave helps spread the truth and encourages us to create even better content. Let's end this video with the Prophet's words at the well. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Only He provides sustenance. Do not turn to the water that falls. Turn to the power of the one who sends it. See you in the next story, inshallah. May Allah protect you